That, my friends, is a Guadalupe palm. I'm sitting here trimming this tree and I'm thinking, I don't know if I have a really good Guadalupe palm video for everybody. So let's make one right now. What's better than right now? So there you go. As you can see, I'm an owner operator, which means I actually do the work. It's kind of rare. I love doing the work. People say, why do you keep doing the work? Why do you do the deliveries? Why do you trim the trees? I love doing this. I take an ugly tree and I make it beautiful. Well, it wasn't really that ugly, but now it's super beautiful. So these are Guadalupe fan palms. They're Brahea edulis. We'll talk a little bit about how to use them, their attributes, all kinds of wonderful things about them. How to trim them. You see, I've been lazy. I trimmed the front. I have to trim the back. Whenever you trim a palm tree, you always want to do it evenly. If you're going to trim fronds over here, then it's going to look lopsided to have fronds over there that basically are at the same level. So you want to trim off whatever you trim off down here, try to go around and trim off the same level all around the tree. Otherwise, you end up with a lopsided look. So we are down in Atherton, California. This is a garden I put in, made a few videos here. This is one of my bigger projects that we've done. And this beautiful alley of queen palms that I went and found perfect queen palms that all match each other in girth, height, everything about them, because they can be variable. And you know, just some beautiful plants out here. I won't go over those too much. But let's focus on the Guadalupe palms. So the Guadalupe Island fan palm is native. It's actually endemic, meaning it's only found on this little island, Guadalupe Island, which is 220 miles southwest of San Diego. Okay. And it's really peculiar how this tree even exists out there. If you look at the aerial of that island, it's really famous for great white shark messing around with, because you're not supposed to mess around with great white sharks. There's laws against it in the United States. But we all know down in Mexico, anything goes. So they'll take you out there and drop you in a cage and you can fool around with the sharks. You probably could do anything with the sharks for the right amount of money down there. I'm sure somebody will take you out there. But that's famous for that. But if you look at the aerial of the island, you'll see that it's like a rocky nothing. And I really am intrigued. I really want to go out there personally and see how this plant even exists out there and where it grows and how it grows. The only thing I'm thinking is that maybe on the north side of the island, there's some pockets that have less evaporation and more shaded conditions, like where redwoods would grow, you know, if it was further north. And they don't grow in the south face because it's too dry. I'm thinking maybe the Guadalupe fan palms exist like that over there. But I really don't know. And what I do know is that the tree is on the endangered species list in habitat because on that island, the seafarers from way back when would release goats on all these random islands, and the goats would live off the island. And then whenever the people went back, they always had a food source, so the story goes. So now there are goats on the island. The goats ate all the baby palms. And so then you only end up with the really big old ones, and those are all dying off, apparently. But it would have been really interesting to see that island, you know, in 1500 or so, before anybody had any contact with it. I think it was like 1630 or so as the first people that went through there. Might have been Cabrillo, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's the story of the palm. It's on the endangered species list out there. Now, it's not endangered because so many people have grown this in California. They're all over. Well, they're not all over the place. They're still kind of rare. They're expensive in big sizes because they're extremely slow growing. This tree right here could be as old as 40 years old, and it's only 12 feet tall. Now compare that to a Washingtonia robusta Mexican fan palm that grows 3 feet a year. A palm like that would be 40 feet tall. But that's the beauty of the Guadalupe fan palm, is the fact that it's very slow growing, and you know, it doesn't get too tall in its application. So here you can see what I've done. I had the taller queen palms above, and we wanted to separate the driveway from this parking area on the other side, and take your eye away from what's behind, which is like a basketball hoop and a garage and stuff, and give this some really nice greenery as you go into the area. And you can see I used a cluster of 3 over there, right? And you can see what that does visually. You've got the queen palms in the sky that form the silhouette. The Guadalupe fan palms are meant to be a big tropical screen so that you don't get overwhelmed by this massive structure. And this is all my design. And then to balance things out, we have more Guadalupe palms on this side, a single Guadalupe there. We have some moringa, and then we have a triple grove of Guadalupes over here. So we have a total of, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9. Total of 9 Guadalupe palms through here. Well, the cool thing about the Guadalupe too, as compared to the Mexican fan palm, is that the fronds are much larger. You need some scale here. So let's see. Let me see if I can do this properly. Look, like, can you see that? There's my ugly head, and there's the frond. This is an old frond. It's all discolored because it was old, but it shows you how big the frond is. The other nice thing about the Guadalupe fan palm compared to the Mexican fan palm is the fact that the petiole, this is the petiole stem, it has no thorns. It does have a little bit of serration, just a tiniest bit of serration here. Okay, now, sorry, I think I locked the, this thing locks the exposure sometimes, messes everything up. But what's interesting is obviously I think that this palm lost its thorns. It's related to the Mexican blue palm, Brahea armata, that has plenty of thorns. But I have a theory that it didn't need thorns out on that island because there were no huge herbivores that were eating the tree. And so it just lost its thorns over time. I think that somehow the seed got out there on this island from mainland populations of Brahea, which there are several, because it's really hard. I don't really know the theory of how the Guadalupe fan palm got there on this island. That there is Yucca rostrata, if you're wondering. Wonderful plant. We have lots of those in the nursery. And you come down and get those. But back to the Guadalupe fan palm. So the fronds are much larger than a Mexican fan palm. There are no thorns to speak of, just some slight serration. Makes it, trimming it much easier. The spread on the tree, and that's probably best exemplified by the plant down here. The actual spread of the tree is larger than the Mexican fan palm, substantially larger. Look at the spread on this tree. It's probably 8 and 8. It's probably about 15-foot spread, and a Mexican fan palm would probably only have about a 8 to 9-foot spread. And so, so what does that do? The trunk size is about the same. The trunk diameter is probably anywhere from 14 to 24 inches of diameter. So what does that do? It gives you a much better proportioned plant. It actually gives you some potential for shade too, which the Mexican fan palm has a tough time accomplishing by itself because it doesn't have that large of a head. So I love these infinitely more, as you can tell. They stay in the intended design size range for a much longer period than a Mexican fan palm would. There's no thorns. And this tree ultimately is self-cleaning, which doesn't happen to a Mexican fan palm until it's 80 feet tall. But this palm becomes self-cleaning really early. In fact, I could probably just peel this off. Look at that. See that? See how easy that was? Easy peasy. And nature will do that on its own, but you can see how easy it is. I wonder if the kids on the island made hula skirts out of these right here. But, so you're probably wondering, Brahea edulis, what's edible about it? Well, the seed pods make these big seeds that start out looking like grapes. I usually cut them all off so you don't see them here. But here's a seed spike coming out, a new one. We'll go look at that. The seed spikes will ultimately ripen the seeds, and they'll be the size of walnuts, and they will eventually turn black. Here's the seed pod right here. They will turn black, and when they do, they're ripe and they're really sugary. So they taste like chocolate. It tastes like if somebody burnt chocolate. You can imagine what that tastes like. That's what a Guadalupe Island seed tastes like. Now, that may not sound very good, but if you're a kid out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, 220 miles away from the closest 7-Eleven in San Diego, you might be pretty stoked to have some burnt chocolate just off your trees. So I'm sure somebody enjoyed that. What else can I say about this tree? Not many nurseries carry this tree because it grows so slow they can't make any money. But if they really love palms, they won't care about the money part. They'll want to grow the tree anyway. That's why I have so many. I've been growing these trees forever. So I grew these trees here like probably 20 years and then sold them onto this project. Here's a flower right over here. You can take a look at this flower structure coming out. I might even let this mature because the seeds are actually really beautiful on this plant. And so I might just let this be. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. There's the seed structure right there. And so anyway, if you want a really good palm, I'm always going to be growing these. I'm always going to have them. And you got to come down, buy a few. You can see what their trunks look like when they get, look at that perfectly proportioned tree. I mean, if it was a little taller, maybe kind of nice, but here it's going to hit the oaks. This is actually a perfect size. It'll be like this for a very long time. But look at the beautiful bottle shape of trunk on this. And I'll leave you with probably the most exposed trunk of all the trees here, which is right over here. We'll take a look at, you can always tell if you have a fast growing tree or a slow growing tree because of the internode length. And the internode is where the leaf scars are. Every one of these rings, this is a queen palm, is a leaf scar where there was a leaf attached to the tree. You can see it grew very quickly when it was young. And then these trees will slow down in their height per frond made. Now it's only doing like, it was doing like 10 inches every time it made a frond. And then it slows down to like 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches of frond. And these things will grow a foot a year once they really get going. But now you'll see over with the Guadalupe fan palm, it's quite remarkable because the internode space is so tight. Look at this. Look how close that is. 1 frond, 2 frond, 3 frond, 4 frond, 5. So if you get 5 fronds a year, you're only getting like a few inches of growth. And this is where the flowers would be coming out typically. But yeah, that's the, there's the ring pattern. We can even take some more of this off and expose some more rings. But what a remarkable treat. Brahea edulis, the Guadalupe fan palm from the island of Guadalupe. Someday I'm gonna go out there, see what it's all about, see how this tree survives. That's all you need to know.